It is early February 2020, and my name is Joe McGrail. Some time ago, I had the good fortune to become acquainted with a congenial gentleman here in Ocean City by the name of Frank McCormac. We usually see each other at Sunday breakfast in Arlene's restaurant, and Frank is always accompanied by one of his 6 daughters, whose name is Reen, short for Maureen. In the course of one of our conversations, I learned that Frank had served in the Army in Europe during World War II. In fact, he had first set foot in France on one of the beachheads used during the famous Normandy or D-Day invasion. He made it ashore 6 days after the bloody initial assault of June 6, 1944, in which over 6,600 U.S. soldiers were killed, wounded, or missing in action. I am pleased that Frank agreed to talk to me about his experiences during the war, although at first he was quick to declare that he was, quote, not a hero, he was just there, end quote. After I remarked that there were a hell of a lot of others who weren't there, and told him about 2 other friends of mine who reluctantly spoke about their experiences in battle, he graciously gave me his consent. He then mentioned that at the invitation of some school teachers, he did tell some classes of students about his experiences. I understand that over time, Frank has been sort of writing his autobiography by occasionally providing his family written statements of his experiences. But it is my hope that this recording will reveal some things about his military service in particular, his children and others may not be aware of, and that will enable them to draw a more complete picture of that relatively brief but significant part of his life. The recording touches on 3 distinct phases of his life. The first will briefly cover what was going on in his life before entering military service. The second will go into more detail about his military service, especially in Europe. And the third will cover what happened within a brief period after he returned to civilian life. At this point, I can't help but remark about something I observed at our first meeting in his home. On the table at which we sat, there was an electronic keyboard. Frank said he was trying to master it and it was a little difficult, even though he could play the organ. For a moment, I just couldn't imagine someone just a couple of months shy of their 99th birthday taking on a new challenge. Most, if not virtually everyone else I had ever come across, even much younger than him, would have long since abandoned any idea of doing anything near what he was trying to accomplish. Today is February 10, 2019, and I am in the home of Frank McCormac. This is the start of my interview with him, so we will cover part 1 or chapter 1 of what was going on in his life in the early 1940s prior to his entering military service. Okay, Frank, what was going on before you went in? And by the way, what year did you go in?
42.
1942, okay. So you were working, you were single, you were...
Well, I graduated from high school. I went to work for Philco. I graduated in 1939. I went to work for Philco, and I worked there for 42 years. I married in 1946. We had 7 children, 6 girls and 1 boy. The oldest is 73, the youngest is 52.
Okay. Well, before you, so you were single. Were you living? You were living at home when you were drafted?
Yes.
In 1942.
Right.
And you were what age then?
22.
22. Okay. So you're living at home with mom and dad. You had any siblings at home with you at that time?
Yes, I had 3 sisters and 2 brothers.
And you're all in a Philly row house, the typical Philly row house
Right.
that I grew
Port
up in
Richmond.
as well. Yeah,
Port Richmond.
Port Richmond, yeah, blue collar neighborhood. Everybody worked at a
Exactly,
plant.
right.
Everybody wore dungarees or carried a lunch
Right,
thing with
right.
them. Yeah, that's the same thing I grew up with too. We had a big GE plant that covered three blocks, right up the corner from us for most of the time. So you're with mom and dad, and you were in your early 20s, and so you were prime draft bait, right?
I
at
sure
that
was.
time,
I
you
sure
were.
was.
Huh? You had no kids and whatnot.
Yeah, right.
You were dating someone at that time, or
No, not at that time.
you didn't have a steady girlfriend?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. So when you went in, then who were you writing? You weren't writing love letters to anybody then, right?
I had a friend. I was drafted and went to New Cumberland, Pennsylvania,
Okay.
where I got my assignment to the
Okay.
Signal Corps.
Okay.
All right.
So again, you were a single guy, no family responsibility, so to speak, and you didn't have a steady girlfriend. You weren't engaged or whatnot at all. So,
I had a steady girlfriend.
oh, you did have a steady
Yeah,
girlfriend.
right.
Okay. And did this steady girlfriend ultimately become your steady wife?
I sure was for
Okay.
70 years.
And her name was
Esther.
Esther. Okay. She was a neighborhood girl.
Yes.
Yeah, like most of ours were too. I mean, I
Yeah.
married a girl who lived next door to me, but yeah, our neighborhoods kind of like defined what we did in a way. I mean, the people that kind of people we grew up with and whatnot. So, what was your job in Philco? What did you do?
Inspector of parts
Parts.
of radio and television.
Oh, okay. Television was really they were really early days back.
Right.
The very beginnings, I guess,
Right.
wasn't
It was the beginning.
Okay. So then you get your draft notice, and we're going to pick up after that. But is there anything else you want to say about home life and your girlfriend or your steady girlfriend? How you met?
I met her at a skating rink.
You did a roller skating rink.
Roller skating rink.
Oh yeah. Okay.
She asked me to skate. It was a leap year number, so the girls asked the fellas then.
Oh really? Boy, that's disappeared.
And she asked me to skate. I skated for 70 years after that.
On thin ice? No. Or the roller rink. Okay. All right. So that skating engagement that you had then developed into a romance.
Right, it sure
okay.
was.
You guys were in love, but
Yeah.
you were old enough to get married. I guess was she your age or younger?
She was younger.
That was
2 years younger.
3 years young. Yeah, that was pretty typical too, because the girls their brains were more developed than the boys. So,
Right.
so we were like behind the curve with them. So that was quite common back then.
Yeah,
It's true.
right.
So you had
But we didn't think about marriage at that time because the service was coming, and I knew I wanted to go away, and I didn't want to be left over there, and she'd be left here. So we waited till I come home.
Okay. All right. Would you like to talk about her a little more than we have so far? Is there anything you'd like to say about Esther?
About Esther?
Yeah. When you dated and whatnot.
Oh yeah. After the skating rink, then we dated almost every Saturday night.
Okay.
Went to dinner every Sunday. We used to go.
Oh, okay. Did you go in Center City to the movies?
No.
No? You didn't make
Midway movies at K&A.
that? Okay. All right. So you still stayed in the neighborhood,
I sure
basically.
did.
Okay. All right. Well, if there's nothing else you want to say, how about your mom and dad and your siblings at that time? Were you the oldest, youngest? Or
No, I was young. I was the youngest.
You were the youngest.
Right.
Okay.
The only one left.
Okay. The only one left now. But everyone was, even though older, were still living at home with your
right.
parents?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of doing the same work you were. What did your dad do, for instance?
He worked for Frankfurt Arsenal.
Oh, that was a big employer up there.
Instrument maker he was.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And mom just maintained the household, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay. So, all right. Well, this is a start. This is what I wanted to get on the record to talk about you as a single guy before you went in obeyed your draft notice your neighbor sent you, and meeting the woman who was going to, become your wife for what, 70 years you were married, I think, something like. Wow, that's quite a record. It really is. Okay, well, we'll just, stop it for today. If there's anything else you want to think about in this. Today is February 28th. We're back in the home of my friend Frank McCormac, who's just returned from a vacation in Florida, where he was spoiled once again by his family. We'd like to get in a little bit more information about Frank's family, who was home and so forth at the time he left for the Army. So Frank, who was home when you left?
My sister Marie, my sister Marguerite just went in a convent. Brother Bill was home, and Brother Tom were home.
Okay. Your brother Bill, I guess while you were away, he got married?
Yes.
Okay. And so did your brother Tom?
Got married.
Got married?
My sister Marie got married.
Okay. I understand from our prior conversation that Tom also was drafted into the service?
Correct. Into the Navy.
Into the Navy.
Right. He was lucky. He went to Hawaii. That's where he served his time.
Okay. He was married with a family then, right?
3 children.
So this was sometime after you were in the Army, where he got into the Navy. Okay. So he spent his time in Hawaii in the Navy?
Right.
But I guess things were pretty tough when your mom and dad, their house was empty, basically, right? You went in the Army. Your brother Tom got married, left home.
Yeah, right.
Your brother Bill married.
Right.
And you said your sister Marguerite was in the convent. Right. So it had to be tough on them as parents worrying about, you and Tom.
Right.
Because as you know, when you go to the military, you don't know where you're going to wind up.
Sure.
You don't have control over anything like that. So I just wanted to get that, and I've experienced being a parent of 3 sons in the military at the one time, so I can have some, empathy for what your parents went through, and I just wanted to get that on the record.
I didn't know you had those children.
Yeah, I did. How about were your parents' health okay at that time? I don't know how how old they were at that time, but in their 40s and 50s, maybe.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, I just wanted to fill the family record out a little more.
Okay.
And I appreciate that. Today is February 12th, and I am once again in the home of Frank McCormac. Today we will begin our discussion of his military service. This part will start with his receipt of his draft notice, uncover his reporting for induction, training experiences, and travels, leading to his assignment to the 50th Signal Battalion and the 1st Army prior to going to Europe. Okay, Frank, you're in the Army, you get sworn in, and away you go, right? You went to New Cumberland, you said, for your initial training?
Right. I got my uniform there, and then I went to Camp Edison, New Jersey for basic training.
Oh, Camp Edison, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not Fort Dix or anything like that, no.
Camp Edison, right on the water.
Okay.
Freezing.
All right. And so how long were you in basic? What was it, like 12 weeks or something like that? Or?
About that. A little less than that, I guess.
A little less?
Yeah, about 2 months.
So you didn't know at that point what part of the Army you were going to serve in, right?
I was in the Signal Corps.
Oh, you then?
I knew it. I knew it then.
Oh, okay. At Cumberland, will they assign you to the Signal Corps?
Yeah.
Okay. But you still had to go through basic infantry training at Fort Edison?
Right.
Okay. So you weren't too far away from home. I guess you could get home to Philly?
Very seldom, but I got home once in a while.
Okay. You saw Esther?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So after Cumberland, and this again is still in 1942. You're at,
Right.
okay. Uh, and the training at Cumberland again was basically infantry training. It wasn't
At
New Cumberland.
Cumberland, I just got my uniform. That's
Oh
all
yeah,
got.
I mean at Fort Edison. I'm sorry,
At Camp Edison.
Camp Edison.
Right. That's where I got my basic training.
Okay.
And
then,
after basic training, I went to Fort Monmouth, which was not too far away, for radio training on radio.
okay. It was a radio operation or fixing a radio,
No.
or what happened here? What we got here? Okay.
Learning how radio works, that's what it was, the beginning of it.
Okay.
And from there, I went to Joplin, Missouri, camp. You get my memory right.
Okay.
It goes back a little bit.
Okay. Sure.
Camp Crowder.
Okay. So you were traveling cross country now a little bit. It's the first time you were out of Pennsylvania or out of?
Yeah, right.
It was. Okay.
Right. So I went there and still training radio.
All right.
And I did that for maybe a month or 6 weeks. I was sent to Camp Murphy, Florida for radar training.
So this is the fourth place you've been,
Right.
still in the United States, right?
Right.
Okay.
All training.
So but you're getting around now. You go from Missouri to Florida.
Right.
Okay.
That was nice down in Florida. We were right at the beach too, right across the street.
All right. Lots of girls down there too, but you weren't paying attention to that, right? No, yeah, right. I understand.
Never saw them.
No, okay. Okay. Yes, I'm sure that's what you told Esther, but you can tell me something different if you want. Okay.
USO right beside us. We had it made.
All right.
Yeah.
So now it's, I guess, what, into 1943 at this point?
Yeah, 43, right.
All right. So you were in Florida for how long, Frank?
Another month, I guess.
Yep.
5 weeks, maybe.
Okay.
And then we were shipped to Massachusetts.
Wow. Okay.
Fort Miles Standish,
Fort
Massachusetts.
Wow, I've never heard of it. Okay.
But you heard of Miles Standish.
Oh, yeah, I did, but not the fort.
We were sent up there to get ready to go overseas, is what it was.
Oh, okay.
We were only there a short time, and we were shipped to California. By train, we went.
Okay. Troop train?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And we were zigzag. We didn't know where we were going. We just got north and then south and then north and south until we got across to California. Fort Pendleton, California.
Okay, there's a Camp Pendleton.
Camp L.
Yeah, it's a Marine Corps base now.
Yeah, right. And we stayed there another month, I guess. What do you think we did? We got on a train and went to the East Coast. Sounds like the Army, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, okay. So you've been cross country, you've been north to south, and then back up north, and then east to west, and then.
I thought I was
back
going to
west
the Pacific, going out to California.
Right.
First thing you know, we're going east. Now we're going to Europe.
Okay.
So I stayed there for a very short time, and we boarded ship and went overseas.
Okay, so you boarded ship where? Out of Brooklyn Army Terminal?
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts? Okay.
Right.
All right. And you sailed to where? To Scotland or
Scotland.
Scotland.
Edinburgh, Scotland.
Edinburgh, Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
How long did that take? Do you remember? I'll give you a reason why. I'm asking.
Maybe 3 days.
3 days?
4 days.
I think okay. I was served on a troop ship. We were going back and forth to Germany. 8 days it took us. Yes, to make it over.
Oh, I didn't think it was that long.
Yep. It
seems like a lifetime when you're doing it.
Yeah, you slept in probably 4 high bunks.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it regular Army, U.S. Navy troop transport?
When I was an English ship, I went
English
on.
ship.
An English ship.
How about that?
Yeah. With horrible meals, I remember that.
Uh-huh. Right. It was an English ship. Okay. But you had cocoa, right? They used to have cocoa. They drank cocoa. I know we used to get a kick out of them announcing cocoa.
I went down and got the meals one day. Everybody take a turn. I went down. I come back with raw bacon and sour beets. Can you believe that for breakfast?
Raw bacon and sour beets? Not really. I haven't seen that on any menus lately.
Nobody ate it though.
Yeah, I guess a lot of guys seasick.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, that's
right. That'll make you seasick. Yeah, if you ate it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you weren't seasick before you ate it, you're going to get. Okay. So you're in. This is 1943. How you had to be in Scotland for a while, right? Because you didn't.
We went. We didn't stay there. We were training up there.
Okay.
But we gradually went down to the southern part of England, getting ready for D-Day.
Oh.
We didn't know it was D-Day coming.
Okay. So
that's where we went.
So you were in Europe then a number of months before the
D-Day.
Before D-Day, because you when you headed for the France, Normandy beaches, you left from Scotland or Southern England?
Southern England.
Southern England. Okay. All right. Yeah, because that was in June.
Yeah.
So much of between your running back and forth between the country, in the United States. So from I guess, what was it, the spring or summer of 1942 when you went to New Cumberland and then thereabouts. So so you were in the States quite a while before you transitioned
43
overseas. Yeah. So much of 43 you were here, right? And then over to England and Scotland.
Yeah.
And probably mostly in 44. Right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Getting close now.
It's getting close. Anything you want to remember about any of the bases that you bounced around to, except Florida with the girls on the beach? Of course.
No, there were none there.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, I forgot. Yes, I forgot that. Well, how about Camp Pendleton? That's right on the west coast. That's near the beaches in.
We didn't see any. I know that we didn't see anything out there.
Okay. Oh. So, what was your job actually going to be? I mean, Signal Corps guys, or they string phone wires? They
maintain the information from the front to the back. That's what I was doing with this radio.
From the front lines to the rear.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So you were communicating with the command structure. Frank, I want to talk about your arrival in Scotland after a horrible ride on a British Navy vessel, which had the worst food in the world, and what you did there, what kind of training you did, and then you made your way from there into England. Okay, so you tell me what you did in Scotland, what your training was.
Just get up in the morning and go out and march, and that's all we were doing, training that way. That's all the
physical training, calisthenics, all that, that stuff to keep you guys in shape, I guess.
That's it.
So then you made your way down
I was only there a short while in Scotland.
In Scotland.
And we got trucked down to southern England.
Did you get off the base at all? I mean, did you get any chance to meet any of the civil?
No.
Oh, you guys were confined to the base.
Right.
They didn't want you talking to anybody about anything going on.
We didn't know what was going on anyhow. We didn't know anything about D-Day or anything like that.
Okay. So you go down to in England, the southern part of England, and you prepare to depart from England, right?
Right.
So you get on, what kind of vessel did you get on?
Landing vessel.
A landing craft? Was it all signalmen on there, or was it mixed?
Mixed.
infantry and others?
There were very few signalmen there were very few on there. It was all infantrymen.
Oh, okay. All right, so you made the crossing of the channel. What was the ride like?
It was a little rough.
A little rough.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So you landed on the beach.
Right.
Okay. One of the beaches used in the assault, right?
Right.
Is it
Omaha Beach.
Omaha Beach. Okay, and the ramp goes down, and you step on the French soil.
Right.
Now, did you have everything you needed, or?
I had all they equipped me with, anything I needed at the time, anyhow.
Okay. Did you lose anything?
Yes, I lost my barracks bag, which was all my own, but my personal belongings.
Oh.
We were in that barracks bag, and I left it. I guess I was so anxious to get off the beach.
Oh, okay. So they weren't serving cocktails on the landing net
No.
or Tullamore Dew or
No.
any of that stuff. Okay. All right.
No.
So your barracks bag then had all your personal things, and mail and all that.
Oh, yeah.
All that and wow.
Pictures and whatnot.
Pictures, everything.
Yeah.
And you never could recover it, huh?
No. I didn't want to go back and look for it either.
Okay. So you arrive on the beach. I guess it's maybe daylight then.
Yes, it was daylight.
Daylight. And what did the beach look like? Was it
Just sand, that's all it was.
there were no damaged vessels or
No,
anything, any
no.
sign of casualties or anything
No,
like that around?
no.
Okay. So, okay, you landed on the beach, and where'd you go? Well, you formed up to go somewhere.
Marched all night, walked all night. Halfway there, we had to settle down and take a nap. Then we finally arrived at St. Mary Glees.
St. Mary Glees?
That's the first town we saw.
Okay.
That had already been damaged.
Right. That was St. Mary Glees was the first town liberated in France.
Right.
From the D-Day invasion.
Yeah.
I did a little checking on your trek from the beach to St. Mary Glees. It said it would take about 9 hours.
Oh, yeah.
So that you were marched and walked through the night,
Yeah,
I guess,
I did.
And you got a little shut-eye maybe somewhere
right.
along the line.
Very little shut-eye.
Okay. All right. So you arrive in St. Mary Glees, and what did you do there?
That's where we got our equipment then.
Okay.
They mounted it on my truck.
Okay.
I had a driver and myself, and that was all involved in that truck.
Okay.
And no other trucks were involved with us. We were doing our own thing.
You were doing your own thing.
Yeah.
So at that point, you didn't know. Now, you were in the 1st Army and the 50th Signal Battalion, right?
Right.
But who were you assigned to other than that to support? Was it this?
50 Signal Battalion, that's all we had.
Okay, but I mean, was it 7th Corps?
It was 7th Corps.
7th
right.
Corps?
Right.
Okay. All right. 7th Corps had,
It
was a big outfit.
Oh, yeah.
You had,
we were a small part of it.
right. You were support for them.
Yeah, right.
So, who gave you your orders as to where to, I mean, here you are in France, you know, I mean, how did you know where to go or what to do? I mean, you're riding in the back of the truck or maybe in the front until you got to where you were supposed to go.
Inside.
Okay.
The equipment was on the side, sitting on where you would ordinarily sit. That's where it was placed. And
how big was the back of that truck that you were sitting in?
it was a 2.5-ton truck.
Okay, so it was what, about like 4 feet by 8 feet or something like that, or something a little bigger than that?
Not much bigger than that.
Okay. So you sat on you had all your radio equipment on one side of it?
Yeah, right.
And did you have a bunk that you slept in?
Yeah.
Okay, on the truck?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And how about your meals? What did you eat while you? Just the rations, or did you ever have any?
Oh, we had rations, yeah.
Get any cooked meals anywhere?
Later we did, but not then, no.
Okay.
Every time we'd stop, every several miles. They'd stop and get something.
All right, so you were following somebody yesterday.
It was a whole convoy.
A whole convoy,
Yeah,
okay.
right.
But then a lot of the convoy went ahead and you stopped someplace, right, in between where the command was and where the front was.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, the 7th Corps, I mean, I was reading about it. I mean, they had everything from paratroopers to field artillery to tanks to you name it. Any feature of the infantry, any part of the army was part of that 7th Corps, and they were in a lot of activity.
We were monitoring what the 82nd was doing, the 101st was doing.
Okay. One of the major efforts after the landing, as I could recall, was for taking over the port of Cherbourg, which was a deep water port. And that would allow the American forces to...
We headed for Cherbourg.
You headed for Cherbourg?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, in your one document you showed me, the 82nd and 101st Airborne troops were involved in, taking control of Cherbourg and opening that port up to U.S. forces. But did you have any idea where the enemy was, how far away the enemy was at that time?
No idea.
Did you hear any action?
Not then. I eventually did.
Okay, after the Cherbourg thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
You'd hear firing overhead coming in. From time to time we would. And then you'd try to find a better place. The truck wasn't safe enough for that,
All right. After the Cherbourg support of the 82nd and 101st Airborne, where did you go next? Do you know, or can you recall rather?
No, we just traveling. We didn't know where we were really, what was next or anything. I didn't know any towns, and I had no map or anything like that.
So you were just again following a convoy that was headed to some place for action, whatever it was. Okay. All right. Well, just stop this for today. We've got some good information on the record, and I want to do some more reading about the 7th Corps and whatnot. We can get back into more specifics.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you told me that one of the major events you were involved with was the so-called Battle of the Bulge, which was in Belgium.
Right.
Okay. I want to make a record for this of the results of my research into what went on then.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like background for what you could provide in terms of your personal experience, because there is this larger story of which you're a part and an important part. Before talking with Frank about his personal experiences after he arrived in France and was involved in support of combat operations, I felt I needed to provide some context to his recollections, since we are talking about military actions that took place 76 years ago and span multiple generations. When he was destined for Europe, Frank was assigned the 50th Signal Battalion of the Army Signal Corps. As such, he was one of over 13,400 signalmen who were part of the Normandy invasion force of June 6, 1944. About half landed with the initial assault at Utah Beach. All in all, it was the largest gathering of signalmen ever assembled for combat, comprised of a wide variety of units of different skills, responsibilities, and missions. It even included a pigeon unit that used carrier pigeons to convey messages. Frank's battalion was assigned to support the 7th Corps of the 1st U.S. Army. Overall, the Corps was engaged in 5 major campaigns in Europe, namely Normandy, Ardennes, Alsace, known also as the Battle of the Bulge, Northern Europe, Central Europe, and the Rhineland. Within a few days of his arrival in Normandy on June 12th, Frank was working in support of the 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions in the first major battle of the Seven Corps in France. It was the battle to seize the important port of Cherbourg. And between June and December 1944, Frank worked in support of other major combat operations to liberate France and then into Belgium. In September, he was with units that chased the Germans over the Belgian border and into Germany. Likely, this was the first incursion of American forces into the German homeland. The Germans, however, were able to blunt our drive, and our troops had to pull back into Belgium. But when Frank was next in German soil, he would see firsthand the stark evidence of Germany's barbaric efforts to eliminate an entire people. And significantly, he was a survivor of the vicious and climatic Battle of the Bulge in Belgium that lasted 6 weeks from mid-December to the final week of January 1945. This was Hitler's last desperate effort to stop the invasion. Allied forces were at first caught off guard by the massive German assault involving about 500,000 German troops aided by tanks. Several hundred Americans were captured, 84 of whom were massacred by German SS troops. But soon we were able to turn the tide and force the Germans to retreat back into Germany. Less than 5 months later, on May 7th, 5 days after Hitler's suicide, Germany surrendered. But victory in that final, decisive, major campaign came at a very high cost. The U.S. Army suffered over 100,000 casualties, which included signalmen. Typically, those in Frank's role did not experience face-to-face or even visual contact with the enemy. But that didn't mean Frank and his fellow signalmen were out of danger and spared from being wounded or killed. It was quite the contrary. Their close proximity to the front lines exposed them to German artillery bombardments, such as Frank speaks about. And as he will also tell us, he did prepare for a face-to-face encounter while alone in his truck one night. Thus, I believe it is fair to say that given the scale of the casualties in the Battle of the Bulge, and, as Frank describes, the closeness of some of the explosions to where he was, it was nothing less than pure luck or the work of a higher power that he survived. In closing, I trust you will find these comments helpful as we listen to Frank recount his experiences. Okay, Frank, before we talk about the truck, you mentioned something about you being the most popular guy.
Oh, yeah.
What was that about?
Mail call. We had mail call every day, and they all come around me because I got more mail than anybody else, more letters and more goodies. And that's what they were waiting for, the goodies that I got. So I was very popular. Very
popular? Well, I'm sure you were popular for more reasons than that. You're so modest. You're modest to a fault, Frank. So let's put that on the record as well. Okay. Oh, by the way, as you know, some guys never got any mail.
Oh yeah.
Some family situation. I experienced that anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But I remember guys not ever getting any mail, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, right.
So let me just talk about this truck, where you spent a good chunk of your life in at that time. I guess it was so cramped. First of all, for the first period, there was you and the driver
right
in the back of the thing.
Right.
So I don't know what kind of guy was the driver. Was he a good guy to be with?
Oh yeah, he was a nice guy.
Nice guy.
Nice guy.
Now he had to return home because his wife passed away. I had assumed she had to be a pretty young person, right?
Oh yeah, she was sick when he first got noticed. She was
Yeah.
sick, so he was starting to worry about it. And within a week, he found out that she died. So he went home.
Okay. But I guess you were glad, and he was glad that you weren't like 6'2" and weighed 250 or something like that, trying to fit in that truck, right?
Oh yeah, right.
Okay.
I fit in easily.
You fit in easily. Okay, so and you were in that truck sometimes around the clock for days.
24/7.
24/7. You just had to go out to go to the latrine when you got a break, right?
That's it.
And that was it. Wow. And you ate your rations in the truck, and that was it. You couldn't leave your post.
Right.
And you were there. You arrived in the summer, but then we went through that terrible cold winter.
Yeah, right.
And describe the truck to me. How was it put together? Was it like a metal truck or
Metal truck with a leather
canvas
canvas.
top?
Mm-hmm.
And even how about where the driver sat? Was that canvas
Oh yeah,
roof
the whole
too?
thing.
The whole thing was canvas.
Right.
Did you have any heat in that thing?
Not that I recall. No.
Wow. Okay.
No.
So in the winter, you just had your blankets. It was cold. You slept with your clothes on. And
Right.
got up. Did you have any inspections at all? I mean,
None.
none?
No.
Okay, so you could grow a beard or whatever you wanted.
Yeah, right.
Okay. All right. So that.
I was never old enough to grow a beard.
Yeah. A lot of
Still
guys.
not.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of guys. I didn't put a blade in the razor, but they put, because they didn't want to be embarrassed, not shaving with everybody else at the time, But so okay, well, I was just curious. I mean, did you ever get like in the first part, and then summer had to be hot in the back of the truck too.
You open the door.
Yeah, okay, but then after a while they put a door on. But I mean, I just living in that beast every all day had to be something else. You get out. Did you ever get a chance to like get a break? Did you have a day off ever, or never had a day off?
No, you get out and talk to other ones in their truck. They get out,
get together, chit chat a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
But somebody always had to be monitoring.
Oh yeah.
The radios.
Right.
Okay. So if you weren't answering, like, how would it work? Would like a phone would ring, or you listen? You had these earphones on all the time, which is got to be a pain. How did it work? I'm just curious on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis. I mean,
I get a phone call. That's all.
Oh, so it was a handset you had?
Right.
Okay. And you get the handset, then how do you connect it to the call you got? How do you connect that to
I don't know how
the
it was
command?
connected, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I just know to pick it up and answer the call or make a call.
Okay, so if they got to you, then whatever means they got to you meant that the call carried to the rear. So you're like a midway, you're intermediary.
That's what I was.
Okay, all right, I kind of understand that. You mentioned now you went through a lot of French territory before you got into Belgium and whatnot, but. What was it like in the French town? I mean, did you get a chance to talk to anyone, meet any people?
We went through a lot in truck convoy.
Okay.
We didn't get a chance. I told you about giving us a vino, which was water.
With water.
All
right.
But never got a chance to actually talk person to person to anybody.
Okay. Did those towns show signs of any battles at all, or they were pretty
not where we went through? No.
Okay. All right. So when was the first time, like you were involved in Cherbourg, that operation, and from there you headed, out, and you were involved in some other battles and activities too. In the months between the summer when you got there and the operation at the port, and when you wound up in Belgium at the Ardennes Forest and involved in the Battle of the Bulge. In between those two times, one was like June and July, and the other was in December. You were involved in several different operations, right? With several different kinds of military units. It could have been an infantry unit or artillery or whatever.
4th Division one time, 101st, 82nd Airborne.
Okay.
Different times.
Different times.
Yeah.
Now, in most of those cases, of those different times and different battles, were the Germans firing back artillery toward your lines?
Yes.
And there were times when it got pretty close to you guys.
Right.
Yeah, and I think although you, one time you told me you had to get into a concrete little bunker that only held 2 people, right? Because they were getting that close.
Right. After the night was over and the next morning, you go out and you see a lot of the stores and whatnot were bombed.
Oh,
They came close to us.
Okay.
I knew that they were getting closer all the time, and it's close. They were maybe a half a block away.
That's close enough.
That's close enough, is right.
Yes.
Because they're pretty big babies.
Yeah, they were, and the German artillery was pretty vicious too.
Right.
It really was. I just was curious about that. Most signalmen like you never came in contact with like an enemy soldier or anything. But that doesn't mean there weren't casualties. The historical record shows that there were signalmen who were killed.
Fortunately, I wasn't that close to any of them.
Because of the artillery bombardments.
That was enough.
Yeah, I mean, whether the Germans deliberately targeted you or not, or knew where you were, these shells were overshooting the front line and coming into your area. I guess.
I still picture myself like, that one got closer. Well, that one's real close. And then it went past this, the next one.
That's okay. All right. Did you ever? Were there any like breaks where the whole group of you had like a decent meal, or
not together?
Not together. No. Wow. So you never like joined up with the infantry unit or anything like that. You always stayed with your own signalmen altogether.
Right.
And I guess you were supplied somehow with food and whatnot. But
they'd come by and drop the food off for us.
Okay. All right. So kind of a lonely, solitary situation, right? I mean,
I'd rather have it that way.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Rather than have any action.
Oh, that's true. But I mean, you're a group by yourselves. You're in these vehicles, virtually 24 hours out of the day.
Oh, yeah.
You had no hot meals served and no way to bathe and whatnot. I guess you just could. I remember pictures of guys taking their helmets and putting water in their helmets.
Exactly right.
And they're heating the water in the helmet over a fire or whatever, and using it to wash their face or whatnot. Was that? And that was it, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess people didn't get too close to you guys when you were around people who
never talked about it.
Were able to bathe.
They wouldn't tell you.
Okay. All right. So you go through France and you see some people in the towns, maybe wave to them and so forth and so on, but you didn't really have any personal contact necessarily with.
In Belgium, I was invited into one house and we had a cup of chicory, as I told you.
Yeah, you didn't.
That was it.
You didn't know what it was. You thought it was coffee,
I knew it wasn't what I wanted.
Okay.
They offered it as coffee.
Oh, okay. They didn't see you toss it though, did they?
No.
They give you any food or anything else with it?
No.
All right. Well, I guess they were happy to see you guys.
That was it. They were happy.
Happy to see you.
Yeah.
So you're in Belgium, and then so you headed in the direction of Germany then to where the Battle of Bulge occurred. I guess I don't know whether you got there first and then the battle started, or the battle started and you guys moved there.
We seemed to be right in the middle of it. We got there as the battle began.
Oh, okay. All right.
It seems like it didn't last too long, thank God. But it was they were determined they were going to push us back into the English Channel again. That's what they were hoping for.
Okay.
But it didn't happen. Moved back a little bit, retreated a little bit, and then we went forward, and that did it. Broke their back. Yeah,
well, I think what the problem for the American forces was that the skies were so overcast that your air support couldn't be of much help. But once that cleared up and those bombers and fighter planes got active again, that really hurt the German effort. You know, that because their air force was just about shot at that point.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you're in the forest and it's snowing and it's December.
Right.
And you spent Christmas.
We had a hot meal though that day.
Yeah.
Hot meal. Had to go and bring it back to your truck, put it on the snow-covered fender, and that's where we ate our hot meal.
That was the first hot meal you had,
didn't it? For a long time.
A long time.
Yeah.
I mean,
they give
6
you
months.
soups and nuts on the holidays.
Yeah. Well, that'd be for you. That was like 6 months.
Oh yeah.
Because you got arrived in France in early June.
For a long time.
Wow. Okay, that's quite an personal experience to go through. I mean, in that sense of your day-to-day conditions, the job is you didn't have anyone to talk to in the truck, whether you wanted to or not.
Yeah.
That was it. Now, did the other guys had drivers? Were you the only one that drove your own truck?
There was 2 or 3 other trucks, I think.
And did they have drivers or?
Yeah, just they had their own driver, and that's it.
And you were the only guy who never drove a vehicle in your life, was driving his truck by yourself.
Hundreds of miles.
Hundreds of miles.
Go home and float to test.
Okay. All right. So the Battle of Bulge occurs. You were busy guys at that time.
Yeah.
The Germans pulled back. The American push was too strong, and they folded back they crossed back the border from Belgium and back into Germany. And then, okay. All right. Well, I'd like to pick up when we get together again, like, okay, now you're in Germany and what that was like, okay, and in terms of what you saw, what interaction, how your job might have changed and so forth, what you did day to day, and how it affected you personally, whether it was easier then or
easier then.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll cover that. We've got about a half hour. We'll cover that when we get together again.
Okay.
All right. That'll be bringing this phase of the story somewhat to a close.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
I can almost feel going home.
In my conversation with Frank about the Battle of the Bulge and the start of the mass movement of U.S. forces into Germany, he mentioned that he had gone into 2 of the Nazis' notorious concentration camps, namely Buchenwald and Dachau. Both were liberated by U.S. forces in April 1945, Buchenwald on April 11th and Dachau on April 29th, and each was surrounded by a series of sub-camps. But before I ask him more about his memories of those experiences, I would like to provide some background information in the hope that it will provide at least some context to the scenes he was confronted with. Overall, between 1933 and 1945, Nazi Germany and its allies established more than 44,000 camps and other incarceration sites, including ghettos, for a range of purposes, including forced labor, detention of people deemed to be enemies of the state, and mass murder. Millions died from starvation and disease or were executed. Buchenwald became operational in July 1937, and between then and April 1945, some 250,000 persons from some 30 countries of Europe were imprisoned there. Mortality figures for Buchenwald are incomplete and can only be estimated because the authorities never registered a significant number of the prisoners. So it is estimated that the SS murdered at least 56,000 male prisoners in the Buchenwald camp system, some 11,000 of them Jews. As U.S. forces were drawing closer to the camp, Germans began to evacuate about 28,000 prisoners from the main camp and several thousand from the sub-camps. Of those, more than a third died from exhaustion en route or upon arrival at the receiving camp. When our troops arrived at camp, there were still about 21,000 emaciated prisoners there. Ironically, on April 28th, the day before our troops liberated Dachau, a train consisting of 40 open-top boxcars had arrived there. They contained the bodies of between 2,000 and 3,000 prisoners evacuated from Buchenwald at least 3 weeks earlier. Opened in March 1933, Dachau had the distinction of being the first concentration camp established by the new Nazi regime shortly after Hitler came to power. It is located in the medieval town of Dachau, near the city of Munich. For the 12 years Dachau was in operation, the total prisoner intake was over 206,000, and, like Buchenwald, included persons from over 30 countries. Those executed included many Polish and other Catholic priests. Overall, some 32,000 deaths were documented and thousands more not documented. If not executed by the Nazis, many died from starvation, physical and mental abuse, and rampant disease such as typhus. Some were used as targets in SS troop rifle training. At the time of liberation, the estimated 10,000 of 30,000 prisoners there were very ill. In sum, all of the things we have learned about the operation of concentration camps, such as gas chambers disguised as mass shower rooms, crematorium, and medical experiments done on prisoners, were in use at both camps. All right, Frank, we're going to try again here. I want to pick up after the Battle of the Port of Cherbourg. You're now leaving that area. You're back in your truck and in a convoy. And I understand you had a driver for your truck. By the way, at night, while you guys are on your way to some destination, wherever the convoy's headed, and whoever you're going to support, did the driver sleep in the truck also? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so there are two guys sleeping in this truck plus all the radio equipment.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're making your way across France, and you can hear in the background some battles going on. Right. Tell me what you heard, what that was like, and what you had to do sometimes when that was happening.
You could hear the bombs going across. You could hear them getting closer and closer, and finally past us. Never hit us or got close to us and destroyed some of the buildings around us, but never hit our truck. we got into a cement bunker to protect ourselves, and we listened to the bombs going over, but like I say, none actually hit us.
How big was this bunker?
About 6 foot long and 4 foot wide, I guess, 3 foot wide. Enough for two people, just about for two people.
Oh, I guess those bunkers were built by the Germans, right?
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, when you were going through, you're going through these little towns, I guess, and villages. Mm-hmm. What was it like there? Were they bombed out, or
half of them were bombed out?
Half of them were bombed out. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Roads were never hurt, but the bombs on both sides of the road were bombed out.
And how about the civilians you came across? What kind of reception did you get from?
Good reception from France. They were a good reception.
Okay.
They were glad to see us, clapping all the time, except they offered us wine, which wasn't wine. It was a bottle of water.
Oh, okay. So you were grabbing those bottles thinking you're going to have some French wine, and you were drinking fresh water. French water. Well, that's pretty interesting. Was that the same no matter where you went?
Like through France, that's the way it was.
That's the way it was.
They never offered you wine.
Never offered you wine.
You thought you had wine.
Okay. So after Cherbourg, then you can hear these battles going on. Where was the next place that you remember where you had to stop and support some operation, some unit of the army? And by the way, who told you where to stop? How did you know you were in between the front lines and the command force?
General Lawton was the one in command.
Okay.
General Lawton. He was the one that told us.
Right. Well, how about you? Did someone specifically say, okay, we want you to go up here 2 miles and then stop and stay there and don't leave there? I mean, how did you know exactly where to position your vehicle?
We weren't in the front, so whenever they moved, we moved. That's all.
Okay, so you kept a certain distance all the time?
Right.
Like, was it established like 2-3 miles or something like that? Or
closer than that.
Closer than that.
Half a mile.
Ooh.
Half a mile.
You were half a mile.
Yeah.
Half mile in back of the frontline forces.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize you were that close to them. The command structure, I guess, was several miles back. Mm-hmm. And your job again was to help voice communications between the front and the back.
Right.
Okay, because the radios that they had at the front were not strong enough to really communicate.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, all right. So, all right, you're in this truck all day, Well, at night you slept. How about eating and other things? You got out of the truck to eat, or were you by yourselves, or how did it work on a day-to-day basis?
We had food. Not much of it, but we got it long before we started the trek through France.
Okay.
We didn't have any place to go to get food.
All right.
We didn't have a truck with food on or anything like that.
And you had to use a latrine wherever you could find.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Right, in the woods or wherever, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Okay, and how about getting bathed? I mean, do you have a chance to...
Never that.
Never had a chance to bathe?
No.
So, are we talking now several days you're traveling across?
I would say several days.
Several days, and then your next operation, you were supporting some other different kinds of troops other than the 82nd Airborne and 101st.
Right.
You didn't know what they were infantry or whatever. It didn't matter to you, right? Okay. So, you made your way all through France. I don't know how long that trek took. It looks like a couple months.
July, August.
From the invasion, and when you landed there in June.
Right.
So it took several months. So you were on the road and at these locations quite a while then, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
All right. So at the I see that, and you mentioned it number one, your driver, you lost your driver somewhere along the way.
Right.
He had to go home because his wife passed away.
Right.
So now you had to drive a vehicle that you never drove before.
Right.
You never drove any vehicle before.
I never drove any vehicle except a bicycle.
Okay. So, wow. All right. Now, I assume no one knew that you never drove before.
No, they didn't care either.
They didn't care, right? So you got that truck moving and got to where you were going to go. Did you ever get any kind of relief at all, a break? I mean, you're in this truck for hours and hours, either in the back or driving it. I mean,
no, never a break.
Never a break.
No.
Okay. Wow. So and again, we're talking several months of time as you're going all the way across.
From June all the way to October, August, I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you got into the fall, and there was one effort made to cross
Aachen.
Into Germany, right?
Yeah, Aachen.
There was an operation to go into Aachen, Germany. It was, I guess, that was the first border crossing into Germany of the war.
Right.
So
we went in and quickly went back again. We were forced back into Belgium again.
The Germans
pushed us back.
Pushed you back. What was it like going in there? What happened when you got into the system?
Nobody wanted us there. They figured they were winning, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Until they found out that they weren't winning. We were winning.
Mm-hmm.
So then we went back in again, and they clapped for us then.
Oh.
Same people.
Same people. The same Germans were clapping for you.
Right, right.
Wow. Okay. And then as the months proceed, you wind up in Belgium.
Right.
And that's where the famous Battle of the Bulge occurred. Right. And so the Battle of Bulge started in December.
Right.
So by that time you were over there 6 months.
Exactly.
Basically.
Right.
So there was a lot of activity. I think
snowing like mad that day.
Snowing like mad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I asked you one time, I don't know whether it's on the record or not. I don't think it is. Whether you ever saw a German soldier or whether you had any contact at all with the enemy.
Never.
Okay. But that was pretty common for someone in your situation, right? Unless they came in back of you and, you know.
We never knew where they were.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, there was the German paratroopers were going in behind American lines, and they were dressed in American uniforms.
Right,
Did you hear anything about that? Or
we heard it on my equipment I had in the truck that they were using our uniforms. And beware. And the one night we had a knock on the back of my truck.
Is this when you were by yourself?
Yes, right.
Oh boy.
Knock came in the back of the truck, and I got my rifle ready and kicked open the door. It was my next door neighbor driving his truck. He was next to me.
Okay, so there was more than one communications truck?
Oh, yeah, there's 3 or 4 of them.
3 or 4. Oh, okay. I didn't know whether you were alone or what. Okay, so you were the group then?
Yes, right.
That traveled that. Okay. So, yes, the Battle of Bulge comes along in December. It was snowing. It was bitter cold, as I understand it, that battle.
Yeah, we ate outside.
You
didn't have any mess hall or anything like that.
Okay.
We went in a truck and got our meal and come back out and put it on the snow-covered fenders of the truck. And that's where we ate from there.
Wow.
Big dinner, turkey dinner and everything. They always supplied that.
Yeah, for the holiday.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you were there over Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
In the forest.
Right.
Where the Battle of the Bulge occurred.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That was quite a battle. There's a lot about the history of it. And I'm going to, again, read some of that into the record here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That'll help.
Yeah.
Some people who are much younger than us learn something about that battle.
Right.
It was the turning point in the war.
Oh yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah.
Someplace along here, we helped to free some of the people in the concentration camps too.
In France or in Germany?
In Germany.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we didn't get to it yet. But.
Yeah, after the Battle of the Bulge,
Right.
where you went into Germany in force.
Yeah.
Okay. How long were you? How long that you were involved with the Battle of the Bulge? I mean, there were some American troops who were taken prisoner by the Germans and whatnot.
That was in December, and by April we were ready to go home. So it wasn't too long.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll talk some more about the Battle of the Bulge, and again, you came across concentration camps that were, I guess, there were Jews and others that the Germans wanted to eliminate.
Mm-hmm.
So what was that? What was that like? I mean,
to see that?
To see that
concentration camp?
Yeah.
To see all the people that were still alive, were freed. They were so happy, but they were so thin. They were starving to death, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But they got on their bikes and went home, which I understand later. When they got home, they weren't welcome because the Germans were losing. So they weren't welcome home because the troops were losing. That's fascinating.
What did it look like? What did it feel like to you when you saw this camp? What did you observe, Frank, that was really shocking to you? I mean, that you never anticipated seeing.
They had nothing in the barracks that they were living in. They were sleeping on wooden panels.
Okay.
No mattress or anything. They covered themselves with their own clothes, I guess. There were no blankets or anything like that.
Okay.
And we could see the stoves where they used to burn them.
Okay.
A lot of them were burnt in there.
Crematorium. Okay.
Yeah.
So there were still then dead.
Still in there.
People.
Yeah, they carried them out one at a time and put them in a trench that they had dug, a long trench maybe.
The Germans had dug? Is that what?
Yeah, the civilians.
Civilians.
Yeah, they built dug a trench. It must have been quarter of a mile long, I guess.
Wow.
And 6 feet deep, of course.
Mm-hmm.
They carried one body at a time. The civilians in the neighborhood were made to do that, to bring them out. Our troops were guiding them to where to take them, and with reverence, they always, anybody got out of line, they hit them with the butt of their rifle or something to keep them in line.
Okay.
I'm sure they didn't like what they were doing, but they had to be reverent because these are dead people.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one was a baby, and everybody gathered around and paid tribute to the baby.
Okay. The smells must have been overpowering.
Oh, yeah, right.
Is that what stayed with you? Maybe
yeah.
The smell, in addition to visually seeing all this death and desecration.
Must have been a lot of them killed right in that place.
Okay. Do you remember what name that camp was?
Buchenwald.
Oh, Buchenwald. Oh, that's one of the famous ones. Oh, yes.
Dachau was the other one.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, that's where the war was changed then. After the Battle of the Bulge, we started moving into Germany in force.
Right.
Were there any major battles after the Battle of the Bulge?
No. It was pretty quiet from then on.
It was pretty quiet?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's. I think we got a lot onto the record today. I did know personally a guy who was captured in the Battle of the Bulge by the Germans. The German civilians really mistreated them as they were being marched through the town in Germany to the camp. They were spit upon. They were thrown. People threw, stones at them and anything at them. And ironically, he was not in a prisoner of war camp. He was in a slave labor camp with the Jews.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's tough.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, and to his dying day, he hated the Germans after that.
I can understand why.
Right.
I can understand why. When you see what the people in Buchenwald were putting up with, boy, it's horrible.
Horrible.
I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Right.
Something else.
Any other particular episodes that came along the way? Again,
no.
In terms of the communication side of it?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
All right. Seemed to go downhill from there on, waiting to go home.
Okay. Good.
Everything got quiet.
Okay.
So then we're starting to count the days.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll end with you starting to count the days for today's session. It was great. I appreciate it again, Frank, and for this record. Today is March 30th, 2021, and I am back in the kitchen of my friend Frank McCormac so we can continue to develop this record of his experiences in World War II. And we've been rudely interrupted for 13 months by a vicious virus that, as of today, will probably have taken the lives of 553,000 of our fellow American citizens. And we're not out of the woods yet. Both Frank and I have been vaccinated, and there's progress being made along that ways. But this episode, this interruption in everyone's lives is going to leave lasting memories in the minds of mostly young people, just like the memories of growing up during World War II were deeply etched in my mind. So again, I'm happy to be back with Frank this time. Last year, we were anticipating his 99th birthday and also his award from the Republic of France, making him a member of the French Legion of Honor in appreciation of his service in ridding France of occupation and control by Nazi Germany in World War II. Frank was given that award by the Consul General from the Republic of France, who traveled here to Ocean City from her offices in New York. And it was quite a glorious day. So with that on the record, I'd like to begin with going back into an episode concerning the Battle of Bulge, which Frank related to briefly in our prior comments. And that was the fact that the Germans had, in their efforts to disrupt and delay, do anything they could to stall the advance of American forces heading into Germany through Belgium, they parachuted behind American lines some German troops who were fluent in English, and they were dressed in the uniforms of American soldiers, and in particular military police. Their role was to disrupt, if they could, the movement of American forces by giving false directions as military police, or changing the road signs and so forth and so on. And when they were captured, they were not treated as prisoners of war. They were considered as spies. They were given a trial, and most of them were executed. So Frank is going to, again, relate to us the word of these guys being around in and among American forces had spread. And as he told me, he was hearing it through his communication links. So Frank, what actually happened that night?
I heard that the dropping from airplanes with our uniforms on, trying to stop us from advancing. That's all. And I thought they were in our uniforms, and then all of a sudden, a knock comes to my truck door, and I thought for sure it was one of them. So I got my rifle ready, pushed open the door, and it was my neighbor next door, the truck driver. So I'm glad I didn't shoot.
Yeah, I'm sure he was too.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So now the American forces had a major battle in the city of Aachen, which Hitler recognized was the gateway to the industrial heart of Germany in the Ruhr Valley. Aachen is on the eastern border of Germany, and roads connections allowed our forces to move with great speed deeper into Germany. I've asked Frank about his experiences between Aachen and when he arrived at the concentration camp known as Buchenwald, which was near Weimar, Germany. Frank, there were no major battles after the Battle of the Bulge that you experienced in going through?
No, there were not.
Okay, I think I mentioned it was like about 280 miles from Aachen to Buchenwald, so you did a lot of driving in that truck.
Especially when I didn't know how to drive.
Yeah, that made it exciting for a lot of people, I guess. Anyhow, so all right, so you have arrived at the Buchenwald concentration camp, and that was liberated by U.S. troops on April 11th, 1945. Do you recall what your first impression was when you got there?
Stench was one thing, and the condition of the prisoners that were in there was unbelievable. They were so thin, you would wonder how they could even stand up. They had been starved.
And what? So there were still a bunch of prisoners there when they had not left the camp or moved out by anything like that.
Right.
What was going on around there, involving the civilians? I mean, this was near. Well, there was a community, Buchenwald, and it was near Weimar, which is a substantial community in
the civilians didn't know anything about what was going on in Buchenwald.
So they claimed. Right?
So they claimed, right. It's hard to believe that they could not know.
Did you have any contact with them, or what did you have to do personally when you got there? Do you recall?
There were a lot of people that had died in there. Our first thing was to get rid of them, and we had dug a trench so that the civilians we got from the town, we had them carry all the dead bodies and put them in this trench. That was the first thing we did.
So it was like a mass grave that you were.
Yes, it was. That's what it was.
There were, I'm sure, several hundred.
Yeah, there were. The baby was the last one they took out. Mm-hmm. It was just an infant, and that was the last one that placed in the grave.
Were there any concerns about disease being spread from? Do you recall from?
No.
Okay.
Didn't hear anything about diseases.
Okay, because a lot of the deaths were caused by diseases.
I'm sure.
That spread rapidly through the thing. I believe I read about the camp commander in Buchenwald and what the U.S. troops did to the guy. I believe this is accurate in what I read. Anyway, that they took him and put him in the midst of a number of the dead bodies of prisoners and had the townspeople walk by and spit on him.
Oh. Okay.
And then, as I understand it, they turned him over to the prisoners. I don't know what happened to him after that.
I can imagine.
Okay. So did you stay there very long? Do you recall?
No, very short time.
Very short time?
Oh, yeah.
Like a week or something like that?
Less than a week even.
Okay. So your job as the communications guy was really not, you were doing other stuff then, right? You were in the truck listening to communications.
Right.
In effect, there was no longer a front. Was that right?
It was no longer what?
A front
no,
line.
No.
The German forces had basically collapsed.
Right, they did. Mm-hmm.
How about going through German towns as you proceeded from west to east? Because Buchenwald is sort of in the center part of the country. Do you recall any of that interchange with any German civilians at all?
Not any individuals, but a group. The first time we went through, they booed us. They didn't want to have anything to do with us. But then a short time later, a couple of days later, we come back in again. And that's when they gave us a good hand. They were glad to see us then. They knew the Germans were defeated by that time. So we were going to take over, so we were glad. The civilians were very glad that we were there.
Well, see, in Aachen, a lot of the streets were so small, our tanks couldn't go down there. Yeah. And the Germans concentrated in the center of the town. And the only way we could get them out was to bomb the hell out of it.
Yeah, right.
So you witnessed a lot of rubble, I guess, right?
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, so a lot of that city was destroyed.
Yeah.
And there were mass surrenders of the German troops. Hundreds of them surrendered, whatnot. So the collapse of the resistance in Aachen then opened the way for you guys to proceed further east, right? And that's how you got to Buchenwald.
Yeah.
So after Buchenwald, as far as I know, the next significant place you went was the concentration camp of Dachau.
Right.
And Dachau was 250 miles direct south from Buchenwald. So again, you're doing hundreds of miles of driving for a guy who didn't know how to drive a 2.5-ton truck.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But apparently you adapted pretty well because you're sitting here talking to me about it. All right?
And I fucking driving test when I come home after driving all those miles.
Yeah.
In Europe.
Okay. But I'm sure you didn't want to drive a 2.5-ton truck again when you got home.
Yeah, right.
That once was enough.
I haven't either since then.
Okay. All right. So now Buchenwald was liberated on April 11th. Dachau was liberated on April 29th. So it's 18 days, quite a few days, weeks between Buchenwald and Dachau. And so you're, again, going through German towns, whatnot, countryside and so forth. But you were on the road for quite a while before you got to Dachau, correct?
Oh yeah, sure.
So what were you guys doing? Again, there was no fighting going on at that point. Do you recall what you guys were doing? I guess you didn't have to spend a lot of time in the back of the truck, right?
I don't know what I was doing, to be honest with you.
Okay. All right. So now you arrive at Dachau, which was the first concentration camp the Nazis set up. And it was done early in 1933, right after Hitler. Yeah, Buchenwald was 1937. And again, a lot of the prisoners in Buchenwald were used to work in the munitions plant nearby. And they worked them, I think, yeah, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we were basically working people to death. We weren't feeding them either too well. Well, yeah, Dachau again is another quite a unique place in the history of World War II. Okay, Frank, we left off talking about Dachau, and I want to get back into that in terms of what you can recall about your experiences there to any extent, if it was different than Buchenwald and whatnot. In effect, what you saw. And then after that, Dachau was liberated April 29th. I believe the war was over on May 7th. So almost like a week later, the war was over after you got there. And what, if anything, you guys had to do? Again, since there were no combat operations going on. So could you go back to, again, your remembrances of Dachau for a minute, and then we'll talk about what life was like when combat operations were over and what you guys had to do, and how long it was before you got the opportunity to get on a ship and head back to good old USA. So if you could go back to your remembrance of Dachau, to the extent you can recall, Frank would appreciate it.
It's almost the same as Buchenwald. I mean, the prisoners were in bad shape physically. But when they were released, they were so glad to get out of there. They get on their bicycles and went home. We heard later that the families didn't accept them when they got home because Germany was losing at that time. So they didn't like the idea. Their boys losing. So that's the only thing I heard.
Okay. So you were there like several days, maybe a week or so. Again, was there a mass grave dug there or anything like that going on like there was like in Buchenwald?
Yeah, it's about the same. Yeah, they were both the same.
Same in that regard. You had a mass grave and
right.
a lot of bodies are buried. There's strong stench of death.
Right.
Permeated the place. Okay. All right. So you left the Buchenwald after perhaps several days, a week, possibly there. Do you remember when you got home?
We got home in October.
October. All right. So you weren't on a ship from April till October. You were
No.
Right.
Couldn't take it that long.
So I guess you got on the ship beginning of I served on the troop ship, and it used to take us 8 to 9 days to go from New York to Germany. So you were probably it probably took you 9 to 10 days, perhaps, depending on the speed of the ship and so forth, to get back. And where did you arrive when you got back? You remember what port you came in? Was it Massachusetts?
It was Massachusetts.
Okay. All right. Yeah, my ship, there was a thing called a Brooklyn Army Terminal in Brooklyn. That's where our ship used to come in and out of. So, okay. So you're back in Massachusetts and you're heading home.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you got home and reunited with your family.
Right.
Everybody have a big party.
Right.
Okay. I'm sure Mom and Dad were happy to see the baby of the family back in their arms. And somebody else was happy to see the baby of the family back in their arms. A lady by the name of Esther, I believe, right?
Right.
Okay. So
we planned the wedding right away.
Right away, you planned the wedding?
Yep.
Okay.
Right. And we did get married February 23rd, 1946.
Wow. That was pretty fast.
Yeah.
You got home sometime in October, and February you're a married man?
Right.
Wow, okay. Well, you were...
Well, we were preparing it by mail all this time.
Yeah, but that ain't the same as being there, right?
No.
Well, you didn't lose any. You didn't waste any time.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Well, like we'll the next session we'll talk about you back as a civilian, and that's the end of our interviews.
Okay.
Which has been a great joy for me to do and be in your company this amount of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll close it out for today.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Today is March 31st, 2021. I'm back in the kitchen with my friend Frank McCormac for our final interview of his experiences in World War II. And this last part we'll talk about him coming home at last after spending over a year in Europe and being in the area and subject to dangerous bombardments by the Germans during the Battle of the Bulge and I'm sure other battles as well. So this will be Frank's opportunity to tell us, as someone had been in danger and finally getting back home, what it was like to be back in the embrace of his family. So Frank, you left Europe on a ship out of Antwerp, Belgium,
right,
and you landed in the United States in Massachusetts.
Right.
Okay. Could you tell me now what happened? Okay, you're back in the good old USA, and what happened?
It's hard to explain how it feels to be back in the United States, I'll tell you that. I thought we'd never get there. We all felt the same way. We'd never get there. But what a happy homecoming it was just to get to Massachusetts.
You went from Massachusetts to where, Frank?
Fort Meade.
Fort Meade, and it's in Maryland. Right.
For discharge.
Discharge. Mm-hmm. So then you had to make your way home from Maryland to Philadelphia, right?
Right. Went up on a train. My girlfriend, my sister, I guess that was all, that met us at Fort Meade. And we went together to North Philadelphia Station, train.
Okay. Yeah. There was a party waiting for you when you got there?
Not there, but when I got home, there was.